Welcome in everyone into the penultimate edition of Hitting the Field in Season 22. I'm your host, Edgar Rodriguez, and today we have a packed show as always. We're talking start to life in the UFL for the Orlando Storm, a 2-0 perfect start for our brand new franchise. Next, we're talking about all of the controversy in the NBA world recently, and finally, bandwagon fans. Are we for them? Are we against them? You're about to find out. Hitting the Field starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
All right, everyone, we're here in Inco Stadium, Orlando Storm 2-0, Kathleen Moore, not looking too bad.
Not looking too bad. Things look really strong tonight. Jack Plummer, the quarterback, was impact player of the game. He had a great showing today.
Yeah, they go on the road now, 3 weeks without a home game, but we will be back for what, week 6 something?
Yeah, April 25th.
We'll be back. My math was off. Week 5, 2 weeks without a home game for the Orlando Storm. It's okay. I corrected myself.
It's a good try.
Let's move on. Kathleen Moore, we are back.
Yes,
how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Edgar?
Amazing. Noah Green, you've watched both Storm games so far.
So happy that there is spring football because
It's
it is
back.
my favorite sport.
It's back in Orlando, and having said that, we're going to get straight into the action, straight into the highlights of the first 2 games in Orlando Storm history, and it started with lots of drama. Lance kicking for 69 yards.
How about that storm wall, too?
Oh, fantastic, right? They were living it up, and then look at this. It's
Poor
recovered
guy.
by Minkins. 9
Incredible.
seconds into the game, Orlando Storm football.
I mean, first play, you can't really ask for much more than that, right? I mean, what an exciting start to the season.
No, you can't, because then it's going to be Corbin to break free of a couple tackles and score the first rushing touchdown in Orlando Storm history, Noah.
Touchdown, yeah. Corbin, he scored 2 touchdowns in this game. He's been really, really good throughout both of the games for the Storm. So excited to see how he continues this season.
And look, there's my favorite niche wide receiver, Ted
And
Ginn.
he's getting interviewed while, you mentioned it, Noah, Corbin scores his 2nd touchdown of the game to break it open for the Storm.
Yes, sir. And Ted Ginn Jr., former Carolina Panthers wide receiver right there. And he's not been a really good coach for the Columbus Aviators so far. So.
Bless him.
And then look at this, Plummer dropping back,
Ooh, what
finding
a
his
catch.
man
Back
Oh,
foot.
just
my
in
gosh.
the end zone. It's a touchdown. Another one for the Storm.
What a
Another
nice
one. You
ball,
got that
too.
reference, Kathleen Moore? You got that reference? Here
Yep,
we go.
I got
We're
it.
going into game 2. Plummer dropping back to the 50-yard line. Look at this catch
KJ
by
Hamler.
KJ
So
Hamler, who's going to
nice.
direct traffic, make room for himself. Let me go. He's going to dive into the house, Kathleen Moore.
Dude,
Touchdown.
that was so nice. I mean, he really saw the gap. Like, he had his route planned out. It was beautiful.
And Jack Plummer, he's going to do it again. You're going to see him drop back into midfield in this next play again. Fakes the handoff, and he's going to lay it right into the hands
Beautiful throw.
of Roland, who's going to find some room again and score for the Storm, Noah.
Chris Rowland has been really impressive, I think, for the Storm. And Jack Plummer, former Carolina Panthers practice squad quarterback, he did make an ugly throw at the end of the Louisville Kings game, resulting in an interception in the end zone. But I think Jack Plummer overall has been okay. Would like to see them use backup quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, maybe on some RPOs, some read options, try and get, the run game even more explosive.
And, I have to give Plummer a little bit of credit, too. That game was shaky for him. He did go down with an injury, literally had to go into the medical tent for a few minutes, but then he came back and his very next play was a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So,
And fans, I think, were expecting DTR to be the starting quarterback, Noah. You mentioned
certainly
wanting
was.
to see more of him, but Plummer hasn't been bad at all so far this season.
That one throw against the Kings, that was an interception back of the end zone. Didn't love that. His offensive line hasn't done him a lot of favors either. I think, if the O-line plays better, he could do a lot more. But I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I'd like to see more on some gadget plays. This is the UFL. These guys aren't necessarily like top-tier pros.
Right.
And I think using a 2-quarterback system could potentially be beneficial for the Orlando Storm. Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't do so well with the Cleveland Browns. 1 touchdown, 10 interceptions throughout his career.
Oh, boy.
But he is a preseason merchant, and a lot of the guys, that are playing in the UFL, are preseason merchants. So I think, I would like to see not Jack Plummer get benched per se, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson kind of be more of a dual threat quarterback, run some RPOs, and get that run game really just going.
I really think that Jack Plummer could have so much success too if he just had a little bit more time to sit in the pocket.
His offensive line has been so bad.
He's a pocket passer too. From everything that I've seen, he doesn't do well when he has to roll out. So offensive line, let's step it up.
That has been a headline so far in the UFL. The O-line's not being too great. Again, we talk about it not being the highest level. Elijah Badger, though, it was actually him who catched it. That is not English. That's not perfect English. Badger, though, caught it for the second touchdown in that Kings game, Noah. What have you seen from him? He's leading the league in receiving yards.
Badger has been very impressive, and I think, that connection with Jack Plummer, you got Corbin in the run game. I think that all, syncopates that offense to just, they haven't scored a ton of points. They've really, I think, the biggest thing for the Orlando Storm has been, their defense holding the opponents to field goals. That bend but don't break style of defense. 3 points is less than half of 7. So even if your opponent gets all the way down the field, obviously it's less than half of 7. Even if your opponent gets all the way down.
Better math than me.
Yes. Even if your opponent gets all the way down the field and you hold them to 3, that doesn't really affect you all that much. And I think the biggest downfall to the Orlando Storm is there's this new rule in the UFL to where if you cross the 50-yard line, you have to go for it. And what would happen is Plummer, like you said, the lack of protection, would cause them to get sacked, would cause them to, lose the football, and they would go back to their own 40, their own 35, and then they have to go for it. I think against the Kings, they had to go for it on a 4th and 32 or something absolutely crazy like that. And I was like, I love that rule, though, because it makes the middle of the field, actually matter, whereas, you're not just taking a false start and punting.
Right. And you saw in the Kings game, Kathleen, that big play from Plummer was on 3rd and 19, and he still find a way to get it to Badger.
I know, and the thing for me about Badger is this guy's not going to be a UFL player for long, I don't think. If he keeps up how he is now, he's at least getting signed to a practice squad next season, maybe even making a 52-man roster.
Wow.
I don't know. I've seen great things out of him. He's such a physical player.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great start to life in the UFL. We're going to stick to the Kings game. You see it on your lower third. Kathleen Moore, you sang the national anthem before the game.
I did do that.
Talk about that experience. Why not?
It was really exciting. I used to sing the anthem for things previously, and it was cool to get to do it again at a pro sports game. Edgar certainly wouldn't let me forget that it was happening.
Very humble. I'll describe you as being humble before that experience, okay?
Turned the game on a little bit later than that happened. I would have probably been freaking out.
No, you missed it.
Yeah, I missed it. I did not get to see it. I think I turned it on right at 8 o'clock because I had to switch the channels because they were still finishing up a softball game on ESPN. So I had to switch to ESPN
It's okay. I forgive you.
Shout out UCF softball, by the way. Number 19 ranked. Okay, Noah, let's look ahead now, okay? They play the Kings back-to-back. They do go to Louisville now. 0-2 start for the Kings. Do you see the Storm keeping their momentum on the road?
I think the Kings are a good team, but I do think, we're going to continue to do it. Some big playmakers I want to go over. Isaiah Bugs, not really lighting up the stat sheet. Really good, though, presence on interior D-line, forcing run stops. Did that a lot, I think, in the last Kings game. And then Lamar Jackson. No, not that Lamar Jackson.
Not
the Lamar Jackson. Former Jets practice squad cornerback Lamar Jackson. He's been really, really good, breaking up some deep passes. And obviously, KJ Hamler, really good return man. Haven't seen that quite yet. We've seen some flashes. Haven't seen that quite yet. But we saw that 41-yard touchdown against Louisville.
Right.
So I think KJ Hamler is absolutely one of the biggest parts of this team, and then obviously Badger as well.
For sure. And then, look, if the Storm start going 3-0, potentially 4-0, they come back to Orlando with a good record against the Battlehawks when they come back to Orlando, and that Enrico Stadium is going to keep filling up, Kathleen.
Absolutely, and then at that point, you're looking at home playoff games because there's 8 teams in the UFL.
It's a short season.
You have to win 5 games to get a playoff spot. And I think it's 6 for a home playoff game. So,
Almost halfway there.
Look at this now. We're the only 2-0 team as of right now. Obviously, not everyone has played
Correct.
yet. But out of everyone who has played 2 games, we're 2-0. We're the number 1 team right now. And then you look at the DC Defenders, who everyone always talks about as being the best team in the UFL.
Juggernaut, right?
1-1. Already a better record than the supposed number 1 team in the UFL. So I'm excited.
The real number 1 team in the UFL so far is the Storm, and it's been an exciting start to life here in Orlando. Like I said, Noah, how about just some overall thoughts on the UFL? Of course, the rebrand this second year going well.
Yeah, I really like it, and I love spring football. Love watching football, no matter if it's. I'm not going to necessarily watch like arena football, indoor arena football. That's a little too Probably not going to watch Canadian football, but I think the UFL needs to do a better job, and they have been, I think, of partnering with the NFL, of being like kind of the official minor league. We see that with the MLB. We see that with the NBA. They've got the G League. We see that in the NHL. Why can't the NFL have kind of its official developmental league? Because I think, most importantly, you have other developmental leagues in other sports. Why can't we have an official developmental league in this sport as well? I also want to see more young players in the UFL.
I agree. And then you also have headliners to open up the weekends. We got to enjoy DJ Khaled on week 1. I mean, that was fantastic. It was a great time.
DJ Khaled does nothing but spam emotes for an entire
He just presses
game.
a button.
It was such a great time.
I was entertained.
I had such a great
Me and
laugh.
Edgar were sitting in the south end zone, just vibing.
So good. So good. UFL, keep your eye on it because the Storm are here to play. NBA is next. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking a lot on what's going on in that world. And the quick interruption, we'll be right back for your show. For now, let me give you a quick rundown of what the Hitting the Field Network has planned for you. My name is Edgar Rodriguez, and I'm the host of Hitting the Field Season 22, live streaming every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. There, you'll find me and our expert guests talking about everything in the wide world of sports. On Tuesday, get ready because it's Season 10 of Nighttime. Hosted by Andrew Gregg and Joe Geiger, Nighttime keeps you up to date on everything happening in the world of college sports and UCF athletics. Moving on to Wednesday, we have Season 8 of The Combine, hosted by our very own Kathleen Moore. This podcast takes a deep and technical dive into everything NFL, and you won't want to miss that. On Thursday, we go live with Bets, where our Bets boys, Ben Huber, Augie Aronson, and Scott Harris, will give their expert opinion that might just make you some money. On Friday, Season 4 of Girls Got Game takes over with only the hottest topics in women's sports, hosted by none other than Katie Sue Christensen and Mia Flores. And to round out the week, Season 3 of HTFC comes on Saturday, hosted by Octavius Lawrence and Santiago Molina. Soccer never stops, and HTFC will be your stop for everything in the world of football. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where you can find non-stop additional content, as well as stay updated on all HTFN news. Lastly, leave a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the Hitting the Field Network on YouTube. That's all I got. I'm Edgar Rodriguez, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your show. We are back to talk about the NBA. So much craziness happening recently. And joining me, Matthew Polbrook, Austin Lamanna. Boys, the NBA is where the drama is at right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're literally like a week out from the playoffs. Season about to end. A lot of news, especially what we're going to be talking about is the 65 game rule awards. A lot of controversy. So honestly, I'm happy to kind of talk about it on this show. Thanks for having me, Edgar.
A lot of gossip and drama today.
So much craziness happening in the NBA.
It's like keeping up with the Kardashians, except it's keeping up with
Yeah.
the NBA, you know?
Am I right?
There you go, Austin.
You got it.
That's a good way of putting it. And Matthew, you already brought it up. 65 game minimum for those end of year awards. Yay or nay? Are they going to have to get rid of this, Matt?
Look, I think the old system, so like back in 2023-24, that's kind of the first year of this rule coming in. We should go back to the old system where award voters can make their own distinctions on whether or not, say for example, like Cade Cunningham, for example, this year played 61 games, gets a collapsed lung a couple of weeks ago. Before 3 years ago, they would make the decision to say, hey, he's going to be a second team type player, but because of the number of games he's played, we should put him down to the third team. They were able to make those distinctions, but now with this new rule coming in, it's
Yeah.
You know, if you don't reach 65, you're out of it, and I don't think that's right.
Well, so then when you have guys like Doncic, right, for example, who hits 64,
Yeah.
pulls his hamstring, he's not going to be eligible, and that is
Exactly.
crazy given the season he's had so far.
33 points per game. And Austin, I don't know what you think about this, but honestly, I want to get your opinion too.
You know, that's a good question. I think, obviously, the 65-game rule and everything. With Luka, he had a hamstring injury, 64 games. I think he should be allowed. I think that's fine in my personal opinion. But when you look at some of these other athletes, when they're below the 65-game rule, it starts to become more questionable. I think, personally, everyone who goes to the NBA, they are obviously talented.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to meet certain requirements to be able to win these awards. It's not fair to other people who go out and practice day in and day out, 24 hours a day, when you have someone who doesn't go to as many games for whatever reason, whether that be injuries or whatever, stuff
Yeah,
happens.
a lot of these are freak injuries, like Cade and Luka getting hamstring in 64 games. It's
1,000%.
It's quite difficult because we also fall in love with these players and they've had amazing seasons, but something happens to them. And yeah, to be fair, there's a lot of irrational, and I think there's merit to both sides of the argument. There's a lot of irrational negativity around the league right now at the moment, and this is probably just another thing that fans get angry about. Because Luka deserves to be a first-team All-NBA player, but he misses one game. He's literally one game off. One game off.
One game.
That's-
So honestly, you understand why people are frustrated.
Terrible
And-
timing. And Austin, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to bring up, I don't know if you've seen the documentary. I know Edgar has the 28 Outs documentary. The ESPN
I haven't.
You have not?
No, I haven't.
Edgar,
We
if
talked
you
about
wanna-
it the other week, yeah.
We were talking about it the other week. Edgar, if you want to explain a little bit to him?
Right. Well, but it goes into, it follows the same theme, right, of that injustice, if you want to put it that way. Another player we saw highlights of, Matt, was, of course, Anthony Edwards, who's having career-high numbers in terms of points scored, field goal percentage, three-point percentage as well. He's another one who has been, done rough by this rule.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Anthony Edwards, 60 games this season, gets an illness, 4 games left in the season, 28.9 points per game. He's incredible. By far the best player on the Timberwolves, who are now sitting 6 in the West right now at the moment. I'm not sure what they can do this season, but yeah, Anthony, he's been hard done by with this.
Yeah.
And honestly, back to my prior point, it's easy to understand why people and fans will be frustrated because of this. Honestly, in my opinion, and I'll say what I say earlier, we should go back to what it was, because a lot of the times these All-NBA players make these teams, usually they reach 65 games, and if they don't, 63, 62, whatever, they still make it. But they make distinctions based upon that.
Austin, do you think that is the right move to make? Go back to the old system, or perhaps maybe drop it down to 60?
I think kind of take it back to the old system, but at the same time, you have to be careful here. For instance, Armando in 28 Outs, he had a near perfect game, but the ref said it wasn't, and they never changed it, never. And the MLB, they've always kept up the argument of, if we do that, we're going to open Pandora's box, and everyone's going to have a perfect game, all that.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, and I kind of think that should be held up for the NBA as well. There needs to be standards. There needs to be rules. If not, everyone's going to be winning awards and everything like that, like it's nothing, which isn't fair to the players who try their hardest every single day.
And then you do open up the can of worms, right? Oh, what if you only play 59, right, Matt? Then
I want to make it's just kind
still
of
there almost.
The problem with the NBA at the moment, I think, with just Adam Silver, they changed the rules so many times, moved the goalposts. I think we just need to stick to just one set of rules for a while and just kind of. Honestly, I feel like there's no fix. Usually, sometimes someone's going to be angry, but yeah, no, I don't agree with this rule.
It's a tough situation to be in for the league, and we'll see what they do moving forward. Of course, this season it was magnified a little more, right, just because of the frequency at which these injuries came at. Let's look at the picture, though, as we wind down this season, Matt. Let's start in the East.
The East, yeah, for sure. So
Who's caught your attention?
Detroit, obviously, first seed in the NBA, first seed in the East, but Cade with that injury, obviously quite tough. Jalen Duren's your next player. Very deep team, well-coached team. Deserved to be the first seed. Boston with Tatum back into the fold. Jaylen Brown ahead of an MVP-type season. You can see what they do. Tatum isn't to the level that he was at before the injury, and that's obviously expectable. New York and a lot of these players. And I'm going to talk about from 5 to 10.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. Atlanta's been playing insane. Jalen Johnson, NAW, and Kelly Alexander-Walker. And you got the Hornets, who have been amazing ever since January 1st. Their record has been incredible. So a lot of players to talk about, a lot of teams to talk about from the top, and then from that 5-10, which is very, very intriguing.
And that top 4 has been established, Austin. But like you mentioned rightly, I mean, from that 5th to 10th-ish spot, things can change so drastically.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And I mean, something I want to give a quick shout out to real quick: the Detroit Pistons. Oh my God! For those who don't know, they have not been in the playoffs since. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. 2008.
Yo, last year they made
Last
it.
year they broke that drought.
Well, last year they broke that,
Yes.
but still, I mean, in 2023 they were on a, I believe, 28-game losing streak.
You got that right, man.
So-
you got that right.
It's been an incredible
It's very, very
turnaround.
tough. Very, very tough.
And then Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously SGA was out for, I'd like to say 9 games, and has been crushing it since he came back. And truly, I mean, Detroit Pistons and Oklahoma City Thunder, they have both been like making me smile a lot. They have been persevering a lot.
Yeah, as well. So you mentioned the West. Let's go there now. The Thunder, SGA, probably MVP, isn't he?
Yeah, SGA probably for MVP. I want to talk about the Spurs, though.
Yes.
The Spurs have been playing incredible. Despite their youth, Wemby's going to be one of the best players of all time, no doubt, bar injuries, and he hasn't had any so far to count. But 59-19, the only gripe we have with them is their inexperience. This is kind of what the Thunder went through 2 seasons back when they made the playoffs for the first time. They were the first seed. It's kind of difficult to kind of gauge what they are and who they're going to be come playoff time. But this season, De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, deep team, well-coached team.
What a team.
Yeah, I know, incredible.
What a team.
It's easy not to fall in love with them.
And I think it's important to mention also the culture that a guy like Wemby has brought. For example, after winning a game, the drum beat, right, with the fans. Creating that culture, Austin, that's, translating into great results for them.
Oh, 1,000%. Great results. The only thing I'm nervous about is that, just like you said, the inexperience. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2018. That was a fully different team then.
For sure.
A completely different team now. Just like you guys were saying, I'm really curious to see how they're going to do.
Something I'm very interested in as well, Matt. We've seen the Spurs cause problems for the Thunder.
Yeah.
Does it change if that game or if that series is later on in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Who do you see takes the edge there?
Well, 100%. The way it looks right now, they're obviously going to line up to be going up against each other in the conference finals. Yeah, definitely. The Thunder have already proven themselves that they are the team to beat in the West and the team to beat overall in the entire league. So come playoff time and say they meet in conference finals is pretty much locked in if they're both going to advance that far. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for the Spurs to beat them.
And SJ's a player to beat as well.
SGA, yeah.
Well, so also I'm going to ask you the same question, man. If those two teams play each other in the Western Conference Finals, which, hey, bar any craziness happening, right? It's going to happen, Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you take?
Oklahoma City Thunder. I've been a fan of them all season long. Back from when we were on Main Show with Nick Cohen last semester, I was glazing up the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially SGA as well. I mean, they are just a truly amazing and talented team. Even with SGA missing the 9 games, if I'm not mistaken, he has been crushing it without a shadow of a doubt. And I think that's just truly something to just look out for. I'm really excited. I'm not a betting man, but if I was on Call Sheet, I may or may not put a bet on them.
Come on, man. I can't support that.
Let's not put this is not bad, so let's wait for Thursday for that, okay? Let's wait for Thursday. Matt, just any final words on especially the 65-game rule? Because, man, that has been just dominating headlines.
Look, I'll say what I said earlier. We should scrap it. But, again, I don't know when they're going to fix it or whatever, but we should go back to what it was because it was okay the way it was. And sometimes some feelings are going to get hurt, no doubt. We cannot avoid getting feelings hurt. It's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen, so we shouldn't change the way we are. But, no.
Adam Silver, I hope you're listening.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to change it out?
Listen to me, Adam Silver. Listen to me. Listen to me, buddy.
He's the guy to listen to. He's the guy to listen to.
Listen to me.
Listen, we have one more segment to go in the show, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. But stay tuned.
Scrap it.
We have a debut coming next.
Scrap it.
You may have seen it at the Winter Olympics, but did you know that there's a club where you can learn to curl here in Orlando? I'm Kathleen Moore with ESPN Plus and the Nicholson School of Communication and Media, and I had the chance to speak with Bill Morrison, who's on the board for the Orlando Curling Club, to learn more about what they have to offer.
I started with the Orlando Curling Club in about 2016. They started about a year earlier, 2015. When I was first there, it was probably 20, 30 people or so. We had some really helpful donations come in from some of our new members that kind of helped us get the equipment and get started. A set of curling stones used is about $40,000 for 5 sheets of curling, which is what we have here. We found a really great partner in the ice factory in Kissimmee who really wanted us in the building and worked with us on ice times, and they do a really good job of trying to keep the ice level, which is super important for us. And then shortly after, 2018 Olympics rolled around, and John Schuster and the men's team won gold at the Olympics, so that got a big boom for us. We went up to almost 90 members at that point, so seeing the club go from just a few people to just a really big community was really exciting. The mission of the Orlando Curling Club is to grow the sport of curling and make it accessible and inclusive to as many people as we can. We're just a bunch of diehard dedicated curlers, and it's our favorite thing to do. And the community just around the country, around the world is so amazing and so welcoming. Anybody can curl, and that's one of our biggest messages. We have all different ages. We have young kids playing, we have senior citizens playing, there's a stick adaptation. We will find a way to get anybody who wants to try it on the ice and let them try it. For those uncertain, can I do this? Can I try this? Absolutely 100%. It doesn't matter your situation. All you need is some warm clothes and some good closed-toe shoes, and we will provide everything else. Come out and try it.
Back from one more, just as promised. Anya Garbashvili, you're back since the Winter Olympics. How have you been?
I've been doing really well. I'm excited to be back on Main Show.
Mia Flores, the first time on hitting the field at the big desk.
The big desk. I was so scared of this desk, but I'm so excited.
But we have the perfect segment for you.
I'm honestly so excited.
And we're gonna throw it to Anya first, though.
Yep.
Bandwagon fans, let your truth come out, Anya. What do you have to say?
I want to start off by saying that I consider myself to be a bandwagon fan, specifically in the NHL with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Both my fiance and I, we started watching them this season, and honestly, we mainly picked them not only for location, because we do have the Florida Panthers, but also because both Florida teams are doing really well in the NHL. So we're like, you know what, let's pick something local. I had some evidence to pick Chicago Blackhawks because I was born and raised in Chicago. However, we're not going to look at how well the Blackhawks are doing. So that's why I
We don't have to look at the Blackhawks at all. Actually.
No, please no.
Let's avoid that. Let's avoid that. The Blackhawks have not been hot for years now. Yeah,
Goodness, I was still in elementary school and they were still good.
Mia Flores, though, you're going to stick with the hockey theme, right?
Yeah.
Because you also have your experience with this.
Yeah, I am legally not allowed to be called a bandwagon because the Tampa Bay Lightning taught me how to play hockey back when I was a little girl in middle school with their street hockey startup. There's never been a more nasty middle school street hockey team than the Lutz Prep Bolts. Let me tell you, we were nuts. But I've also been everybody here at Hitting the Field knows this, and I'm sure the viewers have heard me talk about it way too many times. But I'm also a big Buffalo Sabres fan, and have been since they sucked. So this season has been absolutely incredible for me and me only.
Well, so I wanted to bring that up because that's a huge thing with bandwagon fans, right? If the team's doing badly, the stadium's empty, no one talks about them, everyone, trash talks them. But then when they're all of a sudden good again, everyone shows up again. Mia, what do you have to think?
Well, that's actually funny that you mentioned that example because the whole reason I got into the Buffalo Sabres is me and my hockey team had a tournament in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And as a bonding trip, our coaches bought us tickets to a Buffalo Sabres game, and since they sucked, they were really cheap. And the stadium was dead empty.
Wow.
I mean, mind you, they're playing the Stars, so nobody really cared anyway, but dead empty to the point where we went upper bowl, and then second period, we made it a row away from the glass.
Yes.
And nobody cared.
Right.
Not even enough staff in the building to get us back up there, but and now they're selling out stadiums. They're selling out that center like it's nobody's business.
Right.
And it's honestly as much as I want to be mad and be I've been here, I was here first, my Sabres, they're doing so well,
You're
and
so
everybody
attached
loves
to
them.
Of course.
It's just so refreshing.
How about you, Anya? What do you have to say about fans who kind of check out and then check back in only when it's convenient?
I think a lot of fans, when they first start off watching sports, especially if they don't really have that thing where they grew up with it, like in my family, you kind of have to be a bandwagon fan almost.
You gotta choose someone.
You gotta choose someone, and it's easy to pick the ones that everybody's talking about. And who is everybody talking about? The ones that are doing well. once you get a couple seasons in, you start to see, oh, I really like this team because of this reason or whatnot, and it's not really always going to be the ones who are winning. But I think the part that gives bandwagon fans a bad rep is the fact that they do leave, and they sometimes will say they aren't bandwagon fans. I genuinely don't see a reason in having shame in being a bandwagon.
Don't deny it.
No, exactly.
If you are, embrace it.
Exactly.
And look, again, another little note with the lower third here. Sean Vaz, okay, was asked to name the teams he supports, and he declined. Okay, he declined.
Oof.
So, just a side note there, Sean, in case you thought I was going to avoid it. I hear him already on the comms.
I'm sure the Panthers will be good next season, bud.
Just like the Bears.
Just like the Bears.
Exactly. Okay, so we talk about denying, accepting it. Why do you think fans should embrace it then?
I think fans should embrace it because, I mean, it's not like saying you're a bandwagon fan means you're not a fan. Like, it's in the term. Like, you're still a fan. And at this rate, especially with hockey, it's all about growing the game because we're making huge steps that nobody's ever seen before when it comes to participation, when it comes to viewership. Like, if nobody is going to sit there and be like, oh, you only like hockey because of this, they're going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait,
you like hockey?
only like them because they won?
You only like them because they're good?
What? Crazy.
It's never before heard stuff. But it's honestly, it brings us all back to grow the game. And as long as you're not obnoxious about it, looking at you Panthers fans, nobody cares.
Oh, catching strays on the Panthers.
I
know we have a few in the program.
I also said I would shout out
careful.
Joe Geiger, hashtag go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
Hashtag go Bolts.
Hashtag go Bolts.
Anya, we talk about this again, right? Fans, leaving and, acting like they're from day one, though. Is that where we get into a little bit of an issue?
That's, I think, where we get into a bit of an issue because at the end of the day, bandwagon fans, they do get on there when the teams are popular, when they're doing well. I don't think it's fair to claim that we were there since day one because we weren't. We weren't there cheering them on when the stadiums were empty. We weren't there when they were losing more games than they were winning. We weren't there when everyone was calling them Booval and all those fun names. Just, it's not fair. Just embrace that you were there when they're good and stick with them. I think that's more so the important part. If you're going to be with a team and you want to continue supporting them even when a couple seasons down the line they're not doing as hot as they were when you first started watching them.
Through the thick and thin, right?
Exactly.
That phrase has never rung more true, right, when we're talking about this. Let me throw another example out there. Indiana, this past college football season,
Exactly.
had never
True.
won anything. Had been the most irrelevant team ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The losingest program in college football history, and then they go on to win the national championship. Is that a valid excuse, Mia Flores?
I don't know.
Wow.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing when we throw football in there is because I'm the bandwagon football fan, because I don't know anything about anything. But I mean, that example is about to happen with the Sabres. So I mean, whatever I say now is getting spoken into the future.
Well,
So I mean, hopefully they win the cup. But I don't know. I really don't know, honestly. As long as you're just nice about it, I don't care who you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in. How about you, Anya? What do you think about this Indiana Hoosiers all getting hyped up all of a sudden?
So, I'm from the Midwest. I have had teachers who I grew up getting taught be Hoosiers because they went to Indiana. I have so many friends who are at the Kelley School of Business in Indiana. So the fact that they were that so many of my friends were cheering on for their football team for the first time in ages was amazing. I'm not looking at you, Fighting Illini. You always are doing well. Shush. But Indiana having their moment was very, very nice. And I think even the ones who were kind of quiet about being Indiana fans, being a little louder, the ones who weren't Indiana fans previously but became ones, I think it was a historic moment. I think it was a valid excuse to be a bandwagon.
And no one can take that away from them, right? They
Exactly.
did win the national championship, and now look, who knows? Maybe into the future, will they still stick around?
That's the hope. That is the
That's
hope.
what we'll have to pay attention to, guys.
Crossing my fingers for you.
Oh,
Thank you.
everyone, cross your fingers. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. That was a great way to end main show. We have one more left in the season. That's right. I did not misspeak that time. One more left in the season. You know where to find us. Thank you to everyone involved. We'll see you next week.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap.